Good morning. Welcome to
Good
NUFC
morning,
Talks.
good morning, good morning.
I hope you are all well. I am literally, I'm just a little bit excited because obviously I've just got a couple of tickets for the match tomorrow. Just a little bit distracted and apologies, been a bit delayed, but good morning anyway. We are going to be talking about obviously Wimbledon, the review. We're going to talk about obviously Eddie Howe's pre-match conference talk this morning with the press. Some crazy questions, as per normal, from some of the journos. But before we go into all that, let's just do some housework and then we'll crack on with the show. Again, welcome to everybody that's watching across all of the platforms. Thanks to all the mods working in the background. Don't forget to smash that like button if you enjoy the show, or even dislike if you don't. It just helps us get a little bit further as a channel to other NUFC supporters. Subscribe, it's totally free. Hit the bell for any future content. We do content 7 days a week. So if you want to guarantee, that you get on all of the or to see all the shows, then if you hit the bell, you will be notified. If you want to support the club and help us grow, you can become a member. It's a small monthly fee, and that just gives you a chance of winning prizes and obviously behind the scenes members only content. Don't forget to check the webpage, nufctalk.tv, for news and obviously information that we try and keep as up to date as we possibly can. It's totally ad free. We do it literally for the love of the club. But if, like I say, if you've got 5 minutes spare, then go and have a look. And if you want to speak to me and me or Win, got a question for us, then try and put a Q in front of that question. We will do our best then to obviously star it, and we'll talk about it during the show. Apologies if we don't show all the viewing, because obviously you guys talk about each other a lot. But if there's something in there that we think is necessary, we will highlight it and we'll talk about it. But if you want to guarantee it, you can use the dollar sign, follow the instructions, and we will talk about your question. All new members and gifted memberships will be highlighted. So that's it. So thank you very much for joining us. Like I say, me and the Mighty Win, as always. Um, really strange because obviously I'd got tickets for the Wimbledon game, but because of the family being a little bit unwell, and it seems to be a miracle because, like I say, over the weekend, they've all become absolutely fantastic, and I've become quite bad, if I'm honest. It's like, as there was me, the hero, supporting everybody, and I thought, you know what, I can't obviously go, as the family are quite poorly with the colds and flu and stuff like that. And 24 hours later, everybody else is dancing, and I'm feeling like, yeah, as you do. And out of the blue, I got a chance of a ticket from this
Well,
bloke.
let's
So
from my
I'm
mate
happy.
Dave.
Yeah, I'm happy. So thanks ever so much, Dave. And I will be on the way up there tomorrow, dinner time, tomorrow lunchtime. So
And
yeah,
and
great
and
stuff.
look at this. This is good. This is sent in from Mr. James Cuff, who's just walking his dog past Wimbledon training ground. So there's the Wimbledon players all
Oh,
training this morning. How about that?
can you give us any ideas of what they're doing? I'm sure Eddie Howe would love to know. Um,
Indeed.
yeah, it's totally different.
That's
Mine,
what you
isn't.
call on the ball. Well done, James Cuff. Thank you.
No, indeed. Like you say, he's our roving reporter. He was the lad telling us about. Obviously, he lives about 10-minute walk away from the Dons. Is it Plough Lane that they play? Um, and
Yep.
he said they haven't had much rain. What's going on? It can't be that bad. It just proves what happens when a river swells from further up the river. So well, anyway, it's on tomorrow. It's a bit of a strange day today because obviously we usually do any news from the weekend or the last 24 hours. But it's been an enjoyable weekend, if I'm honest. If you're a
It's
Newcastle fan,
been a
because obviously we had the
superb
under
weekend.
21s. Yeah, we had the under 21s on Friday, actually putting in a really good performance. Obviously against Blackburn, who are bottom of the league. But you can only play the 11 in front of you. And I thought there was a good couple of standouts. And like I say, that's not about them. But we've done a recorded show about that, so we might air that at some point. But I did enjoy them. Like I say, they really put a shift in, and like I say, it was great. And then obviously we played at 12 o'clock on Saturday, and again was a great performance. Put another shift in against Man City, and I thought probably 98%. If you work with your head rather than your heart, thought we weren't going to come away with much, but it just proves on our day we could have probably got all 3 points there if we'd have just had somebody up front, because obviously as good as Anthony Gordon did, he was working everywhere, and like I say, when he was creating space for somebody to run into, the lads that were running into it just didn't get the legs to catch up with play because we were quite deep. So just didn't quite work out for us. But it was a great show of football and teammanship. And obviously yesterday we had Becky's team travel all the way to Portsmouth and come away with all 3 points. So with a 2-0 victory at Portsmouth there. So, well done to Becky. She's sitting 5th, and she's coming up now to having 2 derbies. We've got Durham next week. Everton in the Cup Wednesday, and then we've got Durham on Saturday, followed by Sunderland the week after. So yeah, a couple of back-to-back derbies there. So that's going to be interesting. But going on to tomorrow's game, because that's what we're here for.
There's Teddy Bear in the comments there. Good afternoon. Got yous on me new telly, what I got for me birthday. And the picture is pretty epic. Well, not be that epic if it's got my ugly mug on, but
well, listen, I bet they've seen worse. Yeah, happy birthday if it was for your birthday.
Happy birthday, yeah, whenever that
belated, was. But well done, buddy. So yeah, it's been, and again, apologies for me if I sound like the Tunes advert, because I do feel pretty bunged up today. So not at my best. Yeah, Tunes. Let's have a look who's in the chat before we crack on with Eddie Howe's press ups and question from Geordie 2 for Life. Why do some fans and pundits think it's not a pen for Gordon? The question is, did the City keeper get the ball? Answer is no. It's a pen. Simple. Well, I think that, for me, I think the perfect person who answered it brilliantly is Gary Lineker. Even though obviously we've heard Alan Shearer say it wasn't a pen. I've done that many a time, and then you had Shay Given so you'd got 2 sides of the coin there, and both ex-players, both still supporters of the club, both say no, it's not a penalty. So it did raise an eyebrow when I listened to that. But for me, the person who actually made it make a lot more sense was Gary Lineker. And as Gary Lineker says, that is now given right for a player to hurdle a goalkeeper. If a goalkeeper decides to rush out and he hits you, makes contact with you, regardless of how big or small, it's a penalty. And it's as simple as that.
And you go down.
Yeah. And to be fair, like we all said, but when you watch it in full speed, it does take a while for you to register. It looks like a penalty bang on, but when they slow it down, then you start to see, well, what part of the body actually does it. And it's not the outstretched hand that catches him; it's the part here that catches the front part of his shoe, boot, and then obviously, I think people are looking at when he stepped over and then he threw his right foot down to the ground as if he was tripping over with momentum. And I think that exaggerated part of the fall was the part that actually gave him the foul, and the penalty. But to be fair, like you said, you haven't got a right to jump over the keeper. If the keeper decides to go to ground and he hits you, then it's a penalty. Trolls has also said, who would be the best tactician of Gary or Win? That's a toughie, mate. Because, like I said, when you watch a game, it's all subjective. I look at a game totally differently to Win. I don't always, and again, this is me. Sometimes missing out on some really lovely play, because sometimes instead of following the ball, because obviously that's what's going to end up in the goal. Against Tottenham, I missed our second goal because I was following play. I was following where the lads were running to, and a lot of that is because obviously the show. We can all sit there and say, "Oh, he did this and he did that," but unless you've got an eye for it, there's nothing to back it up. So I tend to follow the players rather than the ball. And I think again that's just me. I think it's just the way I look at football. I look at individual players and how they perform. And sometimes, if like against say Man City, because it's the first time I'd seen without watching highlights Tonali play a full 90 for us, obviously, not for Italia. I would always look at that and go, I want to watch what Tonali does. I want to see the type of pockets of space that his mental brain, what he's visualizing, the ball's going to fill in. And like I say, he played that inside right channel. If you look at the way you're facing, beautifully for me. He was always an option out for Murphy, who had the ball, for Trippier when he had the ball, and he never looked in trouble when he had the ball. And it's that composure that you want. Well, if you give it J7, he always looks a lot of arms and a lot of huff and puff because technically he's not that gifted. So it was lovely to see that. So I
So
always
quick thinking as well, Tonali. The number of times just a one touch. Get the ball. He doesn't even need to control it. It's one touch and it's away and it's accurate and it's at the right pace.
You see,
good.
I'll be honest with you. When Tonali obviously gets up to speed, and I mean, a full 90 minutes with us, because again, I still think the way we play isn't the way Italy plays, and he's lasting quite comfortably in the Italian sides for 90 minutes. It doesn't last very for that long for us. And you've got to understand, it's again, I keep saying about the mental pressure that you and the mental fatigue that you suffer when you're at home because you want to perform. And I'm not saying he doesn't want to perform in front of the Italian fans. When you've got a lot of better players around you, it makes the game a lot easier because you've got the confidence that the players around you can do something else with the ball. And for me, if I'm honest, I know everybody says Bruno or Grace, any Premier League team. I think Tonali's in front of him. And I think you'll see the best of Tonali as we go on. Because, like I say, unfortunately, we missed 12 months of Tonali's play. And like I say, it'll be lovely now going forward for that lad to be in the side week in, week out. Yeah. Let's have a quick look at who's with us, apart from Trolls, because obviously we know Trolls is there. Johnny Cheer for Life, PDK, welcome again. Anybody else that I've seen? James, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. And obviously, you've got me in the mighty win. And there'll be a few others in the background. Mason, hello, buddy. I hope you had a great birthday. And obviously, we have Roy1616. Hello there. Welcome along, everybody. And good afternoon. Let's in there. Question: are Wimbledon any good? Well, that's that $600 million question, isn't it? Are Wimbledon any good? Well, if you was to talk to an Ipswich fan in the last round, they took them to penalties and they beat them on penalties. Are they good? No, not technically gifted. But what they have got, and especially at home, is they've got that tenacity, that grit, that want to win, And the other thing that you've got to remember is these guys play 40, I think it's something like 46, 48 games.
46.
46 games in a season. So they're used to the Saturday, Tuesday type system week in, week out, along with, cup competitions and everything else. But I mean, when you say, are they any good? They're in Division 2. They were an excellent team. I remember the days gone by where, they won the FA Cup. They beat Liverpool at Wembley. They would kick you off the park rather than play football. But everybody played for everybody. And they've still got that team spirit, even though the team is totally different. According to Opta, they've got a 2% chance of winning, a 4% chance of drawing, and the rest is history.
But let's not forget they did knock Ipswich out in the last round.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're lying sixth in League Two. I've watched some highlights of them. They play a 3-5-2 type system. They play 5 at the back when they need to. They try and squeeze play in the middle of the park. So it's going to be difficult for any of the lads that play in the middle of the park if Eddie decides to make changes, because we all know what's behind them on the bench. I don't think there's a problem in the back, but I also think there's a potential bit of a banana skin in the midfield if he completely swaps it around. So it's going to be interesting.
There's James in there saying, looking at their training, he's obviously been walking the dog, watching them. Looking at their training, they look reasonably handy. Although my experience of watching training is my Sunday league team, so my perspective is probably a bit off. No, football is football, my friend.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, like I say, the one thing that does go against them is the fact that they're away from home now, and we all know how SJP can be at the best of days with that noise. And like I say, I'm amazed and I'm glad that the supporters of Newcastle, as always, are happy to actually get out there and support a team like Wimbledon, because obviously they'll get 45% of the purse, I think it is, with it being their home game. I'm sure that's still going to be the same. So at least they're going to come away with. It was really funny talking about money. Their Just Giving page, Quinn.
Yeah,
They've actually had to put a halt to it because there's so much money coming in. It's like they just keep heightening the ceiling. So they've reached 120,000 and they've just pulled the plug. They've said enough's enough. Thank you, but we've got enough money now, I think, to build a new stadium. I think that's where it was going to end up. But like I say, I think it's great when the communities can come together and
absolutely
and the lesser clubs, because, like I say, for them it's been a roller coaster ride. When MK Dons obviously come up to the Midlands and Wimbledon was no longer, and for the lads to actually bring that back from the depths, all throughout the non-league leagues and back into the second division, I wish them all the best, if I'm honest, because, like I say, it is a Roy of the Rovers type situation for them. But let's have a quick look at Wimbledon. I suppose. Have you got anything up on your screen, Win, or do you want me to do it?
If you do it, I've written everything down. Who's been playing? As you say, they've been going 3-5-2 all season.
Yeah.
With by and large, it's. I mean, these names mean nothing to me at all. I've got to be perfectly honest. But they've got Goodman in goal, and a back three of Harbottle, Lewis, and Ogunde. Although Johnson played there once. And then their midfield five has been fairly consistent, which has always been Nerfville, Smith, Ball, Hippolyte, and Tilly, except for 2 games when Ball was replaced by Reeves once and Tilly was replaced by Furlong once. I don't know if that Furlong is any. It's London, obviously, so it could be some relation of Paul Furlong, perhaps. And then up front, Stevens and Bugil have been their strikers, but Pickett came in once 4 games ago. But a fairly consistent lineup and always 3-5-2.
Yeah. And we'll just pop up on the screen, like I say, their recent game, which was obviously 10 days ago now, was a 0-0 at Bradford.
And that's the thing, they've had 10 days rest.
Yeah, they've had 10 days rest, but obviously we were saying in the green room, weren't we? Sometimes, they having a break isn't the best, because we were saying yesterday about now we've gained that momentum. We also now, after the Everton game, there's a 2-week delay again because of internationals. Just when they come good, he could knock you back, and that's what I said. He Geordie Toon for Life saying Furlong goes the extra mile. I love that. That's classic. But when you look at their lineup, I mean, it is like I say, it's an unknown quantity. But they've won against MK Dons. So, like I say, for them that was a bit of rivalry, and I suppose it's like anything else. You lift your games for them. They beat Fleetwood 1-0, and again, this is the game that I was talking about, because when you look at the Ipswich team, it wasn't a team of nobodies. There was a lot of goodish players in there. If you have a look at the lineups here, like I say, what Wynn's just said there, their normal 11 is Goodman, Ogunde, Lewis, Johnson, Boyler, Maycock, Reeves, Ball, Tilly, Chaban, and Stevens. Stevens seems to be the main striker. But like I say, when you look at the Ipswich side, it's a strong 11. Walton, Johnson, O'Shea, Burgess, Townsend, Phillips, Kajusti, Ogbene, Chaplin, Clark, and Hamadi. So again, it's a team that you probably saw most of them the weekend, getting the 2-2 against Villa. So, like I say, these can raise the game. Can they raise it to the level of us? Who knows? But like I say, when you look at like I say, the scores in that round, that's when obviously we played Forest, and if you remember, we were playing our best, and played a second 11, if you like. Well, no, it was 10 changes, wasn't it, if I remember rightly? And like I say, as much as we got a great start, we come a little bit unstuck towards the second half. But luckily, the penalties saved our blushes a little bit during that one. But again, like I say, you can't just expect us to turn them over. We still have to going to be working really hard to get anything from these guys. But let's just have a quick look at what Eddie has said. Are you trying to get back in, Win? Sorry, matey, I didn't realise you were in the background. Win's having a bit of technical issue in the green room there. His internet just keeps dropping out, bless him. So it'll be interesting to see where we go. I don't know how much you heard of that, matey, or whether you.
Yeah, I got it all. I heard it all. I was just
so let's have a look at because obviously Chris, bless him, was up in the early hours again this morning over in America, preparing for the press conference. So if you haven't already seen it, I'm going to play it for us now. It's quite a little bit in length, and again, some of the microphones are a little bit distant in the background. But let us know in the chat if there's something that you can't hear, and we will explain what's going on. But literally with this one, again, we said, why would you ask questions like that? It baffles me sometimes when I look at some of these. It really does. So I'm just going to increase and then go back onto there. And here we go. So again, this is Eddie's press conference.
Game seriously, whether it's home or away. They've started the season very well. Very strong team. They've got really good attributes in their play. Very, very good from set plays. Really, really strong.
Can you turn that up, Barry? Gary?
Very well organised defensively. They've been excellent in
the
league this year. They've been watertight. So we've got a challenge to, of course, break them down and to create chances, but also nullify their physical strength.
Thank you. Nisha?
Morning, Eddie. Razor touched on it there, giving a chance for players who haven't had minutes to play. I just wondered about Miguel Almiron. How has he been with not getting minutes, and is this potentially an opportunity for him?
Miggy will be like the player in the squad that wants to play, wants to influence, wants to make a difference with his qualities. Miggy's really highly valued by all of us. I think it's been difficult to get him the minutes that he would crave early season, but this is a big moment for him to show his qualities. Outstanding player and outstanding athlete, someone that's made a huge contribution to our success in recent years, and someone we'd love to see play well.
Just reflecting.
So just stopping on that one. When you listen to the words he's just said, should play well, yeah. So I would imagine that's probably got to be it's got to be more than a 50% chance he's going to play, isn't it? When he said he should play well. So to me, he's already picked Miggy. Do you think so, Win, or do you reckon that's just,
a bit on the Man City game? Is there a sense of relief that performance that you were waiting for, it finally came?
I think there's always a feeling of, loads of different emotions going into every game, before and after. That was an intense period in the lead up to the game. We as I said last week, we had a strong sort of reflection on our start to the season. I think we are very honest with each other, players and staff. We know what we're capable of, and that was much more like ourselves against Manchester City. It was a great environment created by the supporters. I think we rose to that occasion. Now the challenge is to find that consistently and to try and hit those individual performances and collective performances on a consistent basis.
You mentioned there how important the cups are. I guess have you had a really strong talk with the players, because you obviously made the final a couple of seasons ago, and where the club is and where they could finish in the Premier League, obviously the cups are the main chance of silverware, really.
Yeah, a strong word with the players. I think we set our objectives out early season, pre-season really, in terms of where we want the squad to be. And I think where I want the squad to be is regardless of our opposition, regardless of the competition, the attitude is the same. We attack the game. We show we want to win, and we have to deliver all the fundamentals towards that objective. I'm not the type of manager that will sort of prioritize games. Every game is hugely important. I don't think you can prioritize games. Of course, we want to get through. We want to win, and we want to win well, and we want to play well. That's always the challenge.
Do you agree with every game's the challenge? I mean, obviously,
well, in a way, yes. But I just, as I say, my worry, the Carabao Cup is our best chance of silverware.
Yeah.
So do you know, this is all laying the path to say, you know, we're not going to play our full strength team. And as long as we come away with a victory, you can argue that's the right thing to do, because we should be rotating. And dear me, if we can't rotate against the Division 2 club, we've got problems.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think there is space for rotation. But
And still
nonetheless, if things, it needs to be, if things aren't going well in the first instance, there needs to be some quick changes, not wait until Eddie time.
Yeah,
We've got
I mean, it's an
we've got to have the personnel on the bench, you know,
Okay.
the reinforcement to
exactly.
come on as and when we need them. Hopefully we shouldn't against the Division 2 side, but football being football and the football gods being who they are, take nothing for granted.
I mean, I agree with you. I think, like I say, you know, this is daft, as daft it looks, could be a potential banana skin if he rotates fully. But there's two ways of looking at it. You know, there's the level of players that sit on the bench that should be more than capable of taking on a Division 2 side, on a League 2 side. Oh, excuse me, like I say, my tickly cough. What the way I look at it is, if we get the opportunity now to move players around a little bit, you know, like I say, for me, Tino and the like should be definitely in. Maybe even Kelly starting left centre back would be a shout, because the one thing that I've noticed with any team, without having competitive football regular, you never get up to match speed. And if these boys are going to come on now, I noticed with Willock, you know, having these bit part in the team. He starts one week, he's a sub the next, and we saw it against Man City when he come on. Actually contributed very little. His mindset couldn't get up to the speed of the game, and for me, he was left wanting a couple of times. He was the last man back into the
again,
box.
if you cast your mind back to the Forest game,
He was the best player on the pitch.
He was instrumental, yeah, till he had
until he had to go off. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. You know, it depends on the mindset, and that's what I said. I'm more than happy for them to change it around a little bit, because there's definitely players on the park that can do that. But for the likes of Tonali, I don't think he'll be involved. For the likes of even, I mean, again, we're questioning J7 with obviously getting his 5th yellow card the weekend. Does it fall on this game? You know, so potentially you're going to have 2 midfield changes with Willock and potentially Longstaff coming in. Then what do you do with the likes of if Almiron comes on for Murphy to give Murphy a rest? Do you still keep Anthony Gordon up front with Byrne, or do you say to Anthony Gordon, now you had a really good run out, I'm going to put a Sula on? You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that we need to take on board, isn't there? So it'll be interesting, but we'll get onto Asula in a second.
And just finally from me, in terms of giving minutes to players that haven't played, does that apply to your goalkeepers as well? Because obviously there are a few, and we've seen Nick Pope this season. Will it be an opportunity for your other goalkeepers to play potentially?
We'll have to make the right decisions. We'll have to get the balance right of the team. As I said, it's a blank canvas, really. I'll look at it and try and pick the right players for this game.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks, Nisha. Damien?
Eddie, just talking about the keepers there. I mean, is it a quirk of the situation you found yourself in, the summer, that you've ended up with so many goalkeepers who are competing for that? Like Blackadamus hasn't made the match day squad yet. Is that one of the difficulties of the position you found yourselves in?
I think it's fair to say that it's quite unusual to have that number of established goalkeepers, and we have that position. But I think we found last year, to our costs, injuries to goalkeepers can have a really detrimental effect on your season. So look, we've got the strength and depth in that position. We'll enjoy having that strength, and all the goalkeepers are training well. Their attitudes have been excellent. They're all supporting Nick at the moment, who started the season very well. So I'm enjoying seeing that battle for places.
And as Nisha mentioned, 2 seasons ago, you made the final in this competition. Was that run, did that sort of reinforce the belief that this club can do something special over the next few years?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, the early rounds were very difficult that season, and I think we survived. Difficult to think back to all the rounds, but I think we survived the penalty shootout within that. Very fine margins. We managed to battle our way through a couple of difficult rounds. And then I think it built up. I think you get to the quarterfinal, the semi-final was, the semi-final 2 games were really memorable for us. And then, of course, you've got a chance to win a trophy. So I think the early rounds are hugely important. You can't take anything lightly. We know how difficult every game is. So this is really where you set the opportunity to potentially win a trophy. So we take tomorrow with the utmost importance.
Thanks, Damien. Got to lead rider and then Dominic.
Morning, Eddie. On Wimbledon, I mean, obviously you've got them up here and showed them some hospitality with the ground. Where does that hospitality sort of end?
Well, I think the most important thing from our perspective is the players are professional, and we don't underestimate anybody. And I certainly don't, because of my background. When we were in League One, League Two, in our early coaching days, these were unbelievable opportunities to test the team that we had then against the team from a higher league, and all the rewards that came with that, both financial and for the players. So I know how motivated Wimbledon will be for this. We need to make sure there's no come down really from the Manchester City game, because they're polar opposites in terms of games. You couldn't get more contrasting. But what needs to be consistent is, as I said earlier, is our attitude and our performance level. So that's what we'll be looking for the players to deliver.
Just in terms of your preparation, I mean, obviously I'm sure you are prepared, but the fans, give them some insight on how much research you do into it. I mean, do you know as much about the Wimbledon right back as you do about Kyle Walker or someone like that at Man City?
Well, it's a little bit more difficult because, of course, with someone like Kyle Walker, you'll come up against him historically, and you'll build a better understanding, of course, from playing against these players on a consistent basis. I think I said again on Friday that one of the beauties of being in the same league as great players and great coaches is hopefully with every game you play against them, you find out a little bit more about your team, or whether it be a tactical point. I think this is one of the beauties of this game, is it's a one-off game, and our detailed analysis is brilliant. We have a team of people that unearth everything that we feel is relevant to our preparation. I will always watch the opposition several times, regardless of how well I know them, because teams change. But of course, with this situation, it's about finding out about Wimbledon, really. And as I said, they've started the season very well. They've been hugely impressive, and we're going to need to play well.
And just on the goalkeepers, obviously, Nick Pope played in the last round at Nottingham Forest. What's your sort of selection policy going into this game? Does someone else come in because it's lower league?
We take it game by game. There's not a set format for a competition. It's what's going to be the best thing for the squad, for the players, and for the team. So that's the decisions that we'll try to make.
Thanks, Lee. Dominic?
Morning, Eddie. You touched on him.
Just going to work on a couple of points there. I mean, obviously, he's talking about the goalkeepers, and he made some comment about obviously having the amount of goalkeepers we had and who's it going to be. And I suppose the only answer he could give was the fact that it's nice to have keepers there that can all fight for the same position. But the one thing that struck me when I listened to the interview this morning was he mentioned obviously injuries. So obviously it's still a concern, isn't it? In the back of his mind, obviously to have a strong-ish squad of goalkeepers to pick from. But obviously I still think there's probably 3 too many. Well, I'll say 2 too many, I should say. I'm not going to put in the goalkeeper coach in that selection. But I mean, you know, it's an embarrassing situation for Eddie to be in, isn't it? With all these goalkeepers there, you know, like internationals sat on the bench twiddling the thumbs to a degree, because obviously they're not going to be in front of Pope. We know that. But is there a chance for us to have Oddie involved tomorrow?
Or Dubravka?
Well, as I said, is there a chance for us to even see Oddie? Because if you remember, we've had Oddie in the side, and he's rather had Ruddy on the back as backup during the game.
Well, I think the only game Oddie's played is Hull, wasn't it? Hull,
yeah,
Hull friendly.
Yeah, pre-season, yeah. I mean, he did okay.
Which he did okay, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it wasn't bad.
The one thing I've taken from the press conference today is Eddie is back to his, if you like, pre-Civil War demeanour.
Yeah,
he's completely relaxed. He doesn't seem uptight at all. He's smiling. He's fielding all the questions as he used to, without any kind of anxiety, which was present in a few of his press conferences when the alleged civil war was taking place. So it would appear that things are, whatever's gone on is over and done with, which can only be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Now, obviously, there was a question right at the start of that where he was on about the hospitality for Wimbledon, which I mean, again, you know, it's questionable, isn't it? Whether, you know, when does it stop? I mean, you know, I think we've got to remember, guys, that they could have opted for a neutral ground here, and it's a decision that's been made for them to travel up to us. So, you know, for me, you've got to give them a little bit of credit. You know, I mean, yes, we know they're going to be getting the money from it, but from the point of being, you know, fan, yes, we want to go out there and win, but they could have made it a lot more difficult for us, couldn't they, if they really wanted to?
Yeah, they could have done. On the other hand, so could we. By the way, we could have claimed a bye.
Well, that's not fact, buddy.
Is it not?
No. They had until the next games. So if you when it's after the international tournament to arrange either a neutral ground. So as long as they play the game before,
No, it was up to the last round. The one that put us in with Chelsea.
it's what I said. It's like the next competition now because we are facing Chelsea if we win this one. So it's any time now up until we play that next game. They could have, if not, I think it's a week before we get a bye. So they could have just literally waited and tried to release because that's in the rule book. The rule book states as long as it doesn't interfere with the next round of fixtures, they can try and play anywhere they like.
All right.
But obviously, with the damage caused to their ground, as we already know, they've lost one home fixture and they're probably going to be losing a couple more. So I think, as daft it looks in the long run, you are potentially looking at the best option was to change it to an away fixture for them because they still get the revenue, they still get obviously the option of making it a great. I don't know whether originally they was trying to use a bigger section of our of SJP for their crowd, but obviously whatever's
Well,
happened, they've had to return
they've
a
sent
lot of
tickets
tickets,
back.
haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't exactly know. Excuse me.
Which,
What's
of course,
going
I
on.
mean, we are well familiar with their travel arrangements midweek,
Yeah.
for evening kickoffs because,
Absolutely.
it's just impossible.
Yeah, it is difficult, isn't it, for
So
travelling
that
back? to
anybody
understand.
who's come and say that they're either driving or they are staying overnight.
Staying over. Yeah, they've
Yeah.
arranged a day off if they're at work or a
Yeah.
sickie, one or the other. But yeah, interesting points, if I'm honest. But again, that hospitality thing, when does it stop? I don't know how you answer that really, because like I say, you have to be professional within these areas, don't you?
No hot
there's times
water in
when
the
you-
visiting dressing room.
yeah, exactly. What do you want to do? Like rub some deep heat into the jockeys, something like that. A bit crazy. Anyway, let's crack on.
Last week, but Matt Target, his situation, could he be back available for you tomorrow?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a little bit too early for Matt. He's still very early stages of training. At the moment, he feels good, but I don't think he'll make this game.
He was close to playing a month ago. He played on the pitch just behind you back in August. Out for a spell again, almost a year out. Just how difficult is it being for him this past 12 months?
Yeah, it's been tough for Matt because I think, previous to those spells out, he'd been a really reliable performer for us. He'd been someone who'd come in during the relegation battle and really solidified that left back position. He was someone that consistently played to a really high level, very, very consistent, really good professional. So this has been a really difficult time for him, without a shadow of a doubt. That the time that he spent injured has been hugely frustrating for him and for us because we've missed a very, very good player. Matt is technically, for me, one of the best players in the squad. So we've really missed him. We'd love to get him back fit on a consistent basis. The last problem that he's had has been a difficult one to take on top of the other episodes that he's had. So fingers crossed now we can get him back for a sustained period.
Thanks, Tom. Good. Craig and then Chris.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
With regards to Alex, there was a lot of talk last season about players who were injured coming back, and those recurring injuries. Obviously, there's been changes above you this season in terms of James Bunch coming in. We'll let it leave that.
Can't hear Craig whatsoever.
No.
One of those areas is the injuries and the return to play program. On Alex, is there a concern or a danger that players Fulham?
I wonder if that's deliberate on his behalf.
Wasn't good for him?
I don't know.
How is he at, with regards to that toe injury?
I suppose it's where they're sitting in the room, but
Yeah, no, I don't think that would be the case. I think it was one of those situations where if he could tolerate the pain, he'd be fine. And I think he tolerated the pain for, as I said, I think it was about 80 minutes of the game before he became aware of any feeling back in that toe. But it was either going to be he was going to be out for probably until after the international break initially, or he could carry on playing as normal if he could tolerate the feelings and the effects of the injury. Now, he hasn't been able to do that, so we're back to the original diagnosis, I think. Possibly, yeah.
so obviously from that, what we've just got.
So
from the
Craig
absence
Hope must have asked about Isaac
and his injury,
playing
and
with
whether
an
it's
injection.
right for him to play. Yeah, which is what we all questioned, wasn't it?
Yeah.
If he's not fit, But like you just said, and you know, for me, it was the question about not being able to. Yeah, by putting it to Eddie in that way, I think you could see by Eddie's body language, like he was a little bit miffed with that, and it was like a case of, you know, because he was questioning whether it was right to do so. I caught that little bit right at the end, and again, apologies for anybody that's watching, because, like I say, you can hardly hear that, and I appreciate that. But you know, he answered it the best way he could. He'd obviously got medical advice about how to go about it, and like he said, there was no complications that could come from it. And the reasons, obviously, now that he's not in the squad is because obviously they want it to heal. He wants to play without an injection to be pain free. He wants him to be pain free. And as you've just heard, will he be available for the weekend against Everton? And he said probably not. But obviously, every day they will be assessing him. It won't be a case of I'm making my mind up now, so don't take that as read, because we all know Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe could say that now, and literally come Wednesday, he could be in the squad. So you read what you like into that, but like obviously you could tell by his body language he was a little bit miffed on what Craig Hope had said. And like I say, I think he answered it well, to be fair.
On Will Asula as well, can you just tell us come back to when he came in, thinking what you saw in him, and how close is he now to be on Carabao Cup tomorrow?
Again, can't hear him. Apologies.
Yeah, I think, as I say all the time with new signings, there is a process these players have to go through, depending on their respective pathways and how they get to this point. So with Will, he's come in, and we were well aware that we would have to go to work as coaches, and Will would have to go to work as the player to
so we
develop
talked about
himself,
Will
to improve every area of his game to become a Premier League striker. We feel he has the attributes to do that. Very, very quick, physically excellent. Obviously, his tall, imposing character is probably his best asset, is running in behind and stretching the line for us. He's got some things to smoothen out in his game. But we've seen already, certainly from the battles he's had against our centre halves in training, he has an ability to score goals, and he has an ability to have a physical impact in the game and really make it uncomfortable for defenders. So we're working hard with him. He's working hard himself. His attitude's been excellent. Comes in with a big smile on his face every day. So his career in his game, I think, is going in the right direction.
I think that was interesting, wasn't it? You know, the one point I picked up from that, to see him working against our defenders and scoring goals, was the words he just said there.
Yeah.
So he's obviously doing exactly what Eddie Howe wants. He's a strong, imposing centre forward with obviously a lot of power, a lot of energy, got good speed on him.
Good speed.
Really good ticks across the box there. And obviously I don't know what he's looking at regarding, you know, is he the Eddie Howe model yet? Well, obviously there's still parts of his game. It's probably his first touch, getting it out of his feet to run, things like that he needs to brush on. But, you know, something like this game against Wimbledon could be, you know,
ideal.
I mean, when you're looking at, you know, he actually played obviously for Sheffield United at this level because they had to. And like I say, when you haven't got a team to back you up, when we talk about Isak having limited chances and things like that because he's not getting the service, you know, you've also got to think that with the team that we've got now, obviously depending on personnel around him, he should get a lot more chances. So for me, I would love to see him play tomorrow night, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think I would as well. I would rather see Isak playing, but if they're going to keep Isak on ice, as it were, then you know, I'd rather see Asula than see Gordon through the middle again.
Yeah, and to be fair, you know, if you've got the opportunity to play somebody and have somebody like Anthony Gordon on the bench, or you know, you've got the options then to change it. If you start Anthony Gordon somewhere else, or like you say, you ask Anthony Gordon to run through the middle for the first 45 minutes or whatever, and then change it. You know, do you move Anthony Gordon then back to right wing, left wing? You know what I mean? You start swapping things around. for me, I think I would potentially look at Anthony Gordon still going through the middle. And the only reason I say that is because the more time he gets running through the middle, the sharper he's going to be against Everton next week. Now, we know there's going to be a little bit of heat anyway, but it looks very much like he's going to be the number 9 come Saturday. But like I say, for me, there's got to be at some point where you go, which one do I start? Do I start Anthony, or do I start Asula and give them a run out equally, or what? And like I say, at this present moment in time, I don't think there's an answer one way or the other.
You know what I would like to see, Gary?
Go on.
I would like to see, just to try it, let's break the mould against the Div 2 side. And I know I'm going against all my own principles here that, we should play our best team, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But I would love to see a 4-2-4 with, but it would mean, I don't think you could risk it by playing Longstaff as one of the two. So you would have to go with Tonali and Bruno and play, say, Miggy on the right, Asula and Gordon in the middle, and Barnes on the left.
Right.
And I would love to see that formation given a chance, the old 4-2-4.
Okay, that's interesting.
Just purely because it's against Division 2. Just hit them, because if you've got Miggy there, he's going to be harrying left, right, and centre up the top. And obviously, you would then play, Hall and Tino overlapping. It could be fun.
See, I'd like, because obviously I would in my eyes I can't see Tonali playing because obviously coming off with that muscle spasm. I can't see Trippier. So for me, I'd like for them to experiment a little bit. Even with Willock, if you're going to be playing Willock and J7 and Bruno in the middle, with Willock just in front, in that 10 role. Because I think that's where you get the best out of him, and he's going to be so difficult to pick up. And between them, you've got to think of whoever plays then up top, whether it be Gordon or Asula. You have then got the opportunity to swap and change a little bit, and get some deeper runners involved. But again, I mean, like I say, I just can't with all Eddie's claims, when he talks about potential teams, he never gives you anything, does he? The only thing he ever gives you is those that aren't playing. When you look at the ones that are definitely like too bad, and like I say, we know Isak's not going to be involved in tomorrow night, but doesn't mean that he's not going to be there for the weekend. So it's always an interesting one.
Thank you.
Morning, Eddie. You mentioned that Alex is likely to be out till after the international break. What's the timescale for Callum Wilson's return? Will he be back after the international break?
Yeah, I mean, with Alex, we're not ruled him out. We're sort of assessing him on a daily basis because there is a chance he could be fit for Everton if everything falls into place. Of course, then we have a decision to make. Does he play in that game or do we leave him knowing that it'd be okay 2 weeks afterwards? Callum Wilson's on track to be fit for after the international break, along with hopefully Louis Miley. Just thinking I've left anyone out. No, I think that's pretty much where we are with those guys. And of course, Sven and Jamal are a little bit further back, but hopefully some good news on the horizon. But until they're back fully, it's difficult to promise that.
And how much have you lost by not having this sort of competition between Alex and Callum? Because obviously we saw towards certainly the back end of the 2022-23 season how much they push one another. How much are you looking forward to hopefully having that back soon?
Yeah, I think it's been a dynamic that we have certainly missed. And I think the players have missed themselves. Almost last year, they were dovetailing. One was fit, one was missing out. And we never sort of got the strength of having both available. I think there was, you might tell me differently, but the Burnley game sticks in my head towards the back end of last season. We had them both and used them both and they were excellent together. but it's a dynamic that we need, and I think the players need, whether that's for rotation, so they're both fit and fresh when they play, or whether it's the competition, because two outstanding players fighting for one role can only benefit the performances, I think.
Thanks, Chris. Kieran?
Morning, Eddie. Anthony Gordon has said he does not need any persuading to stay here. How important after a difficult summer is it for Newcastle to keep players like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a nice thing to hear. I think it's hugely important. I've said many times how important it is that we keep our current players fulfilled, happy. And I think we can do that a number of ways. Of course, the main way for me is to keep progressing and improving, and the ambition of the club remains really strong. I think players, if they can see that, will commit their futures because they feel we're going in the right direction as a club. Anthony's best years are ahead of him. I think he proved again on Saturday how good he is and how good he can be. Still feel there's more to come, and also the versatility, that ability to play different attacking roles can only serve us well with a small squad that we have. So I was delighted with him. I was delighted with the love that he got from the supporters. That feeling and that bond is so important. So really big thank you to the supporters for that.
I suppose one way a club can show ambition is in the transfer market, maybe with a big name arrival. Do you feel key players like that can still see the ambition, as you say?
Well, that's important that we show that. And I think players need to feel that we are continually improving in what is a league that is always improving and never standing still. So that's certainly something for us to think about and consider as we continue through different transfer windows.
Thanks, Kieran. Dom Shaw?
Is there anything that you picked up on from that last snippet that you find interesting with?
Well, obviously the Isaac Wilson thing, which I've been commenting on for donkey's yonks, when, as the reporter said, at the back end of 22-23, when they were both fit, they were both scoring 2 goals, and he was taking them off and swapping them. No hat tricks on my watch.
Yeah.
But then they were each replacing each other and scoring as well. They were just scoring for fun between them. And it's a lovely, lovely position to be in when you can do that. And then, of course, you've got much better chance of keeping them both fit if you're not running them both into the ground.
Yeah. And like I said, at the end of the day, when you've got that nice rotation like we've had in the past, even though it's lasted a short while.
A very short while.
But like I say, I'm hoping they've fixed the issue. And like I say, at the end of the day, there's nothing more that I would love to see 2 fit strikers. Now, obviously, whether that stays that way, who knows? But it always seems to happen to us, doesn't it? When you're reliant on one or the other keeping fit, they're always having little niggles like this broken toe. I mean, you couldn't have even anticipated it, could you? But we just know that just seems to be our luck.
It is.
I'm just happy that we have got versatile players, if I'm honest.
I just interrupt you a bit, Gary. We've got several comments asking if we can take the ticker down. Can you please take the ticker off? Now I can't see it. I'm not sure which ticker they're on about.
It's the thing that rolls backwards and forwards that Chris has got going. So the
is it not the one on the actual news conference that they're referring to?
No, it's the one that rolls underneath. I can only assume that's what they're anticipating.
Somebody, Paul Guys is saying, "Hi, Gary, could you please take the ticker off? My syndrome is going into meltdown."
Yeah, that's what I said. It's the thing that runs underneath, you see, and I'm trying to look at different ways of hiding it. But let's take the banner down. If I can, I will do, my friend. Not a problem. I'm sure there could be just one that's
because Ronnie Turnbull's asking the same thing, and
okay. Well, let's just see what we've got. Let's just see if we've got that, and I'm hoping that's better, boys. Let us know if that's an improvement, because, like I say, we do again. It's all about
the only thing we're hiding now is telling all you good folks to hit the subscribe, hit the bell, hit the share.
Go for it. We've
Go
done
for it.
something for you, so do something for us. I think that's what Vin's
Yes.
trying to say. And I
There you
did
go.
like Wijnaldum, the first of his name. Hi, I'm old, a Toon supporter and new here. So welcome along, my friend. I
Welcome,
don't know, has
Wijnaldum.
anyone ever say it, but Win sounds just like Churchill. Now, if I'm honest with you, I didn't realise Churchill was a Geordie. But you learn something every day.
Well, we'll fight them on the beaches. We'll fight them on the shore.
Yeah,
We will
exactly.
never surrender. Never.
Love it. Love it. But you are welcome, Wijnaldum. It'll be nice to know your first name, though, to be fair, because obviously
It'll be
I find it
Georgie.
difficult to say Wijnaldum.
Georgie Wijnaldum.
Well, Georgie Wijnaldum. And obviously that we've taken the ticker off. I hope that helps. There was something else that I saw earlier on, and I was going to mention. Paul Guys was talking about whenever I hear Wimbledon versus Newcastle, I always see Marcus Gale scoring. He had a habit of doing that. Well, I always see Vinnie Jones having Gascoigne's nuts. Yeah, back in the day. So, but like I say,
Stephen Harker there saying much better. The other background moves around and it's highly distracting.
Yeah, apologies, guys. But you know, I do love this background, but obviously because we're a newish channel, we're just trying to push where you can find us, and I think unfortunately, when you've got all of that going on, but you can help us, like I said, and as Winners just said, if you smash the likes, subscribe, and share, we can stop utilizing or using all these banners. And it's just to show you where we are across all the different platforms. But again, I hope that helps. Let's get back on with the show. That's a stage. Here we go. We're coming, let's say, past halfway now on this.
Hi, Eddie. Just on Alex, will he be going away with Sweden still?
Well, that'll be a decision that we'll have to make, depending on how he looks coming into the international break.
I presume, though, given what he's going through at the minute, you prefer he didn't. Would that be fair to say?
It all depends on if he's fit or if he's not fit. Fingers crossed he can be, and he can be involved against Everton, and then he can go with his international team.
Just ask one on Lewis Hall. How much has he come on over the course of the last 12 months, and what does he have to do to take his game to the next level?
Yeah, he's done really well. I've been really pleased with Lewis. I think, like I said earlier, there's always a process, and sometimes I understand supporters and media that they want sort of instant results. Someone that you sign, you want to instantly see them on the pitch, but it's our job to make the right decision for the player and for the team, and sometimes that means a process where you take the player away, you do a lot of work with them and try and get certain aspects of their game to the level you feel required. So going back to Willisula, there's a lot of work going on every single day with him, but most importantly, you've got to have the raw ingredients and the right player to develop. Lewis was excellent last year behind the scenes. His attitude to his work was very, very good, and no doubt he would have had frustrating days and disappointing weeks. But I think he's seeing and reaping the benefits of that now, because I think his game's in a really good place. I would argue that's probably his best performance for us since he's arrived at the club. Against Manchester City, I thought he looked composed, really composed with the ball, made some very good decisions, and defended really well against world-class players in lots of potentially difficult situations. I thought he navigated some situations really, really well. So very pleased with him. But it does go to show there's no substitute for hard work and coaching. I'm a big believer in that area.
Thanks, Tom. Got it, Gary and then Martin.
Morning, Eddie. Just going back to Anthony Gordon, since Saturday and before that, obviously, as well. Quite a few pundits are saying, Joe Cole will speak highly how we could see him taking over from Harry Kane.
Again, can't hear a thing.
No, it surprised me inside. There's mics on every single.
I thought they got it sus because the last one was perfect.
Yeah, there's mics on every single station, but it's where they are.
Still say his best
it's like us,
position
if we talk over the side, we don't get the mic doesn't pick us up.
If someone were to say, give me that question that you have,
I don't know.
But he can and does have the ability to play different roles, number 9 being one of them, and he can play it very, very well. But it is different for him, and I think you could see a few moments on Saturday where he's receiving the ball totally square with his back to goal. That's a totally different skill to receiving the ball side on like he does as a winger. And you would need work and time to develop those skills, which I'm sure he could if trained there on a consistent basis. But I think he has so many great skills as a winger. You know, his ability to play 1v1, his decision making in wide areas is as good as there is, I think, in the Premier League, in my opinion. So we've got to be careful before changing that too much.
You seem to relish the responsibility you've got on Saturdays as well, and you'll know him obviously a lot better than most people. He's got all the skills in the world, but mentally, is he ready to become a key man for club and country?
Well, I think he's shown that mentally, you know, last year, because very difficult in this league to be consistently good, because teams will work you out or try and come up with plans against you, and then you've got to find a solution to those plans. So Anthony's done that very, very well, I think. Mentally, he's really matured, in my opinion, since he's come here. Just the natural process of playing every week and international call-ups. Naturally, you go through that. It's not easy to survive in those worlds. You've got to be really mentally tough to do it. And I've been hugely impressed with how he's adapted to all the challenges that he's faced, and no doubt will continue to have. But his personal life is in a really stable, healthy position that helps him. He's got a really tight-knit family and really good support group, which when he needs advice, he can turn to, and they certainly help him be able to perform at the level that he's at.
Thanks, Gary. Martin Hardy.
Hi, Eddie. Anthony, like a few others, was linked with moves away from the club in the summer, and I think you've touched upon it about how that was a difficult period for them and perhaps for the squad. How important was it to reset and refocus him?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think there was a sort of a resetting moment or a refocusing moment. It was more, I think, for Anthony, getting the fitness that he'd missed. As I said, the summer was difficult for him because not only did he not play in the Euros, that has a physical cost. You know, he hadn't played for a long, long period of time. Then he had a really short pre-season with us. So last week we did a lot of work with him. And he looked a lot better for that, and we'll continue to do that. Yes, he had the 2 games with England this time during the international break, which would have helped him. So I think it was more that than any transfer speculation.
And do you see him as an England regular?
I don't think it matters what I think, to be honest. It's about the England manager and what team he picks. But certainly he's doing himself no harm currently. And with his last performances with England, where I thought he was very good.
Do you? I sometimes think that some of these questions that throws towards Eddie is more like an entrapment, if I'm honest. You know, like that one just, you know, do you think he should be picked as a regular for England? And I do think, like I say, whatever he says, journals are going to take that and potentially throw him under the bus, because obviously the speculation of the England job still being out there. So it's like I said, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't sometimes. Yep. But I think he handled that really well, you know, by saying, and that's up to the England manager. You know, I can only go from a day-to-day basis with him and how he performs. He should be involved, type of thing. So I did enjoy that. I think that was a great approach from Eddie, which we all know he does on a very regular basis. But I was just looking. I've just put the YouTube channel to the side of me just to put a note out to everybody, and I realised I'm wondering whether it was the stuff that's running at the bottom of the screen from the video this morning.
Yeah, that's what I thought, that because that's the only ticker that's going.
Yeah, but I think our normal one obviously flashes as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Flash and
everybody seems to be happy with it now. So
well, yeah, it doesn't seem to be annoying that many people anyway. Steve's put a good one in the chat there. They've got on-off mics. Apparently, you have to press a button for it to actually pick your sound up. I didn't realise that. I just thought it was open mics, and you have to be within the vicinity of it. Because, like I say, it's crazy if they do have to press a button and they're not doing it, because it just makes it so problematic for everybody, especially when you're trying to do this type of work and listen to the question. Because like even in my headphones, and I know, like I say, it must be
No, you
frustrating.
can hear a thing.
Can't
But basically, you can tell what the question was by the reply.
Oh, the answer. That's right. Yeah, and that's all we
Hopefully.
go.
But doesn't make good viewing, does it?
No, not really.
It's like change of track. You mentioned about being a League Two manager. What's the biggest difference between being a Premier League manager and being a League Two manager? And what's the biggest thing you miss from those days?
I think it's you lot that's the biggest difference, to be honest. Certainly a lot more scrutiny, I think, and a lot more sort of outside noise. The job itself is always about you and the players, regardless of what level you're at. It's you coaching the players, helping the players try and produce their best performance in a weekend. That part of it, I think, is very, very similar, but everything around it is totally different. What do I miss? I think I probably that it's a much smaller circle. I think when you're in League Two and League One and you're building your way up, I think you have a lot smaller staff. You have a lot more time with the players, really, because here there's a lot of support staff who do an unbelievable job and help the players in so many different ways. But because of that, you lose some contact time. So it's probably that I miss the most.
I thought you were going to say short, quiet press conferences there.
Well, I couldn't say that. I'd said it. I'd alluded to it. I didn't want to go the whole hog.
Louise, to finish.
Hi, Eddie. With Anthony Gordon back in the summer in the Euros, when all the Liverpool stuff was going and this provisional medical in Leipzig was talked about, were you in contact with Gareth Southgate? I mean, did you have some chats on the phone about what was going on and handling him?
No chats with Gareth. Gareth had enough on his plate. I think that story, not that I paid too much attention to it, but was slightly overblown in my knowledge of it. So I think Anthony was fine, and I think Gareth was fine.
Just going to stop it there before we move on, because obviously Louise is, as we all know, can sometimes come out with some absolutely crazy questions. So there's a mention there of a medical that was obviously arranged or potentially arranged in Leipzig, because obviously he was over in Germany. Now, I wasn't privy to that before, and I don't think anybody was. And I hope people have picked up on that. So, does that not clarify how close it was that Anthony Gordon and the speculation about Liverpool was actually there?
There was definitely there. In fact, that came out at the time, Gary.
What, a medical?
Medical, yeah.
Oh, I didn't. I hadn't heard that. That is the first time I'd heard
came
that.
out at the time.
Right. Okay.
This was, I think, as I've said several times, we were in a panic situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which had been, obviously, I'm saying engineered's the wrong word, allowed to happen by Amanda, which is, I think, very much to do with why there was the parting of the ways, because I'm not sure that PIF were aware of just how much financial jeopardy we were in with regard to FFP. So yeah, that came out at the time.
Yeah, but I love the fact that he also emphasised about the journalism, over egging the pudding, if you like, and speculating more than fact-based stuff, which we all gathered was there as well. So for me, it was like, again, a perfect response, even though obviously there was a lot of, as you've alluded to now, there's a lot of truth behind it. Because I know there was a lot of fans saying that it's just BS. There's nothing factual there. We all knew that there was certainly a phone call made, and we definitely know there was somewhere in the region of a 75 million pound figure talked about as well. But how far down the line, like I say, that to me was like a case of, whether I'd heard it before about this medical being arranged in Leipzig and chose to ignore it, I'm not sure. But it certainly come to light in my brain this morning. Like I say, I was like, oh my God, I didn't realise it was that imminent I just thought it was literally a conversation made. There's an opportunity for you to buy Anthony Gordon. Are you interested? Type of situation, and this is the price we're looking for. But obviously, it went a little bit further than that. But the next question, again, it's typical. It's a typical Louise question. So we'll just carry on. But obviously, we're coming to the end of this video now, guys. And what we're going to do after that. So I want you to start putting in the chat, if you will, what your potential 11 will be against Wimbledon, if you can. Starting with the keeper, through the defence, into midfield, and then obviously up front. So if you whack that in the chat for us, what will that'll do? Because obviously there's just me and Win to discuss the potential lineup this morning. Because obviously tonight Chris wants to on the sister channel at 9 o'clock. I think Chris is setting up just to look at the Premier League over the weekend, and obviously some of the results and how it's affected us as a club. Because obviously there's always going to be a slight bias towards us, but we will look into other teams as well later on at 9 o'clock if you guys want to join us then, looking at other teams. But like I say, just for now, if you wouldn't mind, help us along and just give us your thoughts on tomorrow's lineup.
And he must have been alarmed when he fell off his bike, his electric bike, when he was.
Yeah, I was alarmed when I saw the pictures, and but I think in those moments I've always said that I try and leave the players alone. I try and let them concentrate on the work that they have, and the tactical information they're getting from their national team manager is much more valuable than me getting in the way. So, of course, asked about Anthony's welfare after that fall off the bike. It was a slightly unusual one.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank
See
you.
tomorrow.
And there you go. So again, a typical Louise question right at the end, which I find absolutely bemusing at the best of times.
Harking back to falling off his bike and training for
Falling off
England.
his bike, and
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we know we're nearly not into October. You know what I mean? And again, what do you say as a manager? You know, apart from I was concerned, and I did talk to him about his welfare and stuff like that, because obviously we all know that if a simple fall off the bike could mean a potential long time off, and as his manager for domestic stuff, you would want to know about it. But like I say, regarding tactical stuff, I mean, come on. Well, I mean, how do you work out, what's going on with the England squad? How can you justify answering that type of question? It's crazy. So again, we've got a couple of things before we go on to the lineup, what we think is the potential lineup. We're going to have a quick look. I'll let you do this, buddy. Some of the starred questions and anything else that looks relevant in the chat, while I set up the next lot of.
I think the problem wasn't civil war, rather that Eales' blood cancer could have been.
Well, we all said that, didn't we?
Yeah.
We all said that at the time. I think, like I say, without knowing the facts, and this is what I said, we can only talk about what potentially could have happened. And like I say, when there's a lot of I don't know, when people are told not to say anything, it used to. I know it sounds crazy, but when you think of our careers, and again, I don't know too much of Wynn's background, but in my career, I could never let on to even my family what I was dealing with because of patient confidentiality and things like that. And it does, because sometimes when you're talking openly about stuff, because sometimes you still need to talk to release the crap out of your head. So you could talk around the points that had happened during the day or during the week, but you could never make a specific point to anybody else because of that. So I understand the situation probably a lot more than anybody that's not involved in that type of stuff. So for me, there's a massive understanding. But I've just going on onto another thing about Joe Linton's suspension potential. Now I've looked in several areas now, and there's no mention of his suspension anywhere.
Which I can't understand, because he's had 5 years, to my knowledge.
Yeah, but have they all been in the Premier League? Because I think the suspension happens in the Premier League. because I've put down, is Joe Linton suspended for Newcastle? And I've put that in the search bar, and it's come up with historical, but nothing for now. So it's interesting. I'll try it again. But go on, mate.
Well, with Stephen Forsyth's in here saying, I don't know whether he's got the rule book or whatever for the Carabao Cup, but they've got 14 days after the postponement, apparently, to find another
one
venue.
Yeah.
And Jody Dan, we will fight them in the big market, man. We'll fight. we'll fight them on the Tyne Bridge.
Love it. That's quality. Absolutely love it.
And cannot hit like if we're having a fit.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was looking at when I put YouTube on to have a look at what was going on the YouTube, and I could see what was flickering and stuff like that. And that's when I noticed the tick attacker at the bottom of the screen. And
No,
I'm
that's
thinking,
interesting. The council have confirmed that the planned Tyne Bridge closure for tomorrow at 8 p.m. will be pushed back to 11:30 to accommodate
that's
the
good
match.
news. Yeah, that's good news.
That's good news, yeah. And what else have we got? That one. Miggy not going to Saudi is what
was the issue.
After Manda up and the other players and big money sat on their backsides. Oh, here's our first lineup. I don't know whether this is tongue in cheek or what, but Ruddy, Kelly, Byrne, Heffernan, Tino, Longstaff, Willock, Bruno, Miggy, Asula, Barnes. Well, if that turned out to be the lineup, I would be absolutely furious.
Well, all I'm going to say to that, Stephen, is the fact that Heffernan couldn't even get in the under-21s the other night. So, like I say, I don't think he's anywhere near this side, if I'm honest, because obviously he is struggling.
Yeah. That's all we've got in the stars. We haven't got any other team selections. Come on, boys, let's have your team selections.
Okay. Well, let's do something on our side then. Like I say,
I'm going to write mine down.
Okay. I will go with that one. And like I say, if anybody's got any information regarding Joe Linton, because like I say, at this present moment in time, there is nothing showing. So he could potentially be in line for the next. Like I say, he could be in line for a game tomorrow. Because like I say, he was one of the guys that was fit-ish. That's all I'm saying. But it will be interesting to see who we have got in the squad, because like I say, at this present moment in time, I am not counting out.
So much to, I forget who it was, who didn't want to see Dubs anywhere near there. Oh, hang on, this is incredible, this. Foxy has got Dubs, Tino, Kraft, Kelly, Murphy, Longstaff, Willock, Joe Linton, Miggy, Asula, Barnes. Well, I've got Dubs, Tino, Kraft, Byrne, Kelly. So I've got four of the back five as same as him, and he's got Willock. He's got Murphy playing left back, presumably. All right, is he going to have Tino on the left and Murphy on the right? Anyway, Longstaff, Willock, Joey Linton. I've got Longstaff, Bruno, Willock, which is close, and then Miggy, Asula, Barnes, which is exactly what I've got. Barnes / Gordon. Okay. And then with that, you could have, you would still have Hall on the bench. You would have Tonali on the bench and Gordon on the bench, which is good stuff to come up.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's I'll try and make this bigger so we can see it. So who are we going to have in goal then? You're going to say Dubs?
Dubs for me.
Yeah, shall we go with Dubs? Because I do think Dubs will probably get the nod, if I'm honest. Okay, so we'll have Dubs. Again, forget the numbers, guys, because this is just a quick
Yeah.
mock-up.
Tino right back.
So you're going with Tino right back, which I think I agree with that one, defo. Them two. Who's
Kraft.
going to be? You want Kraft in the right centre?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Byrne.
And you're going to go with Dan Byrne there?
Yeah.
Okay. And
And
left back,
Kelly.
Kelly. Even though Hall was man of the match, you're going to drop him?
Yeah. Because we'll have him on the bench to impact if we need it.
Okay. So you're going to
And-
have in the
and
middle?
then I would have. I wouldn't be averse to J7, but our person in the middle, I would have Bruno.
Okay.
I think
left of Bruno?
inevitably on the left he's going to go with Willock. I think. And on
to
the
the
right, inevitably, I think it's going to be
Longstaff.
Longstaff.
Lungi. Okay. And then
up
top,
front,
you say?
we're gonna have, where you going?
Go left hand side.
Left hand side, we're gonna go with Barnes.
Yeah.
And
let's get
your capitals
going.
on.
Yeah, I was going to say. Come on, Gary. Punctuation.
Asula,
right
Miggy.
And Asula up top.
And Asula. Now, there are so many permutations available to him that's by no means in stone. But that could be a shout for Zanussi starting on the left, but I think that's a bridge too far. I think we might have Zanussi on the bench.
On the bench, it wouldn't surprise me if a couple of the young uns
And
are on
then
the bench.
if it's a walk in the park that we all hope it will be, then give them a run out. See what they can do.
Yeah.
My only worry here is that here we're putting Asula up front without the full support behind him. So is it a fair test?
Yeah, I understand you. For me, when you look at the forward thinking of both Willock in the channel, inside left, and Lungi on the inside right, getting into these spaces in and around where he always likes to shoot from, and Willock likes to dart in air. I think that would be a perfect marry, if I'm honest, because we know Miggy will run all day for you, and the system that they play, like you say at the start of the show, with this 3-5-2, to make it a 5-3-2, if we can get our lads coming up. And the only thing, like I say, I can see here is potentially Kelly being the left centre back
with
and leaving Hall there.
Only because,
and again, it's about building relationships. Again, with Kraft coming in, we know before. Again, you've got to give these guys room, and you don't want to make too many changes across the back line, because then we know communication from Dubs isn't always there. So is making, the 3 centre changes going to be a bridge too far for them? Will they want a little bit more stability in and amongst these two? So leaving Shah on there and bringing, like you say, Kelly, like you said, to the left-hand side. But I also think that Kraft needs time. But does he start him or does he bring him on? And
being perfectly honest, when Cher was suspended, Kraft was arguably our best player.
Yeah, he did a grand job. But I must admit, he didn't put a foot wrong. But we obviously know now that obviously when he was pulled from the Swedish team because of this knock that he had, he also now hasn't played regular football for several weeks at this level. And I know we're only playing Wimbledon, so please don't. So again, when you've got continuity in football, and again, it's about muscle memory. You work really hard. You find the channels. You know your job. It still takes potentially 2 games for your brain to step up to that level. And like I said, when you're off that pace, and like I say, I'm not sure Wimbledon will cause us that many issues. But it's like I said, you can't rule it out. So for me, it's a case of, do you make too many changes to make you a little bit susceptible to the counter when you haven't had game time? And like I say, I'll go across a lot of the back 3 there, Kelly, Kraft and Tino. Tino has. So, you've got a 50-50 split across the middle of the park there. So I don't know. I think he'd probably still go with
I think
Hall,
with
Firm,
Cripps going
Sharp.
off on Saturday, I think Tino is. I think Tino and Longstaff are guaranteed.
More or less guaranteed, yeah, and me. And whether he then decides to make a change. Is there any mention of Isaac's injury, says Stephen, NUFC? Yeah, he did say that there was no chance of him playing tomorrow, and a potential still missing for the Everton game next weekend. I still think Dubs is going to come in. I think he needs a game.
Trulls there is saying Oddy, Livermento or Kraft right back. He would still play Share and play Kelly instead of Byrne and Hall left back. Then Bruno Willock Longy, which is the same as I've got. And he's saying Miggy, Asula and Sanusi on the left wing.
But again, I don't think you want to make too many changes. Like I say, I've watched a lot of the under 21s, and again, I allude to the fact that at your own age group, you should be shining. Now they have been a little bit on the coaching side, a little bit lost previously, if I'm honest, of watching them. And I've watched the first game on Friday with Dermoid at the helm now. And he's obviously come in and he's shaken the team up a little bit. He's, like I say, Heffernan was dropped. A couple of the lads from the previous game against West Ham, even though they did well, a lot of huff and puff, didn't show a lot of tenacity in front of goal. As much as they had loads of the ball, they just couldn't find a way to break it down. Now, if you didn't see the show, well, you wouldn't have. Or if I'll go and have a look at the highlights if you've got the app, because obviously you get the under 21 highlights from the game. And I must admit, Turner Cook's goal, his first one, was unbelievable. It all started with Ben Parkinson got drifting over on like Zanussi side. Zanussi had made a little bit of a dart on the inside. So Parker and Zanussi had changed positions. Parker sees Harrison, who was operated on the right wing, believe it or not, played half decent. Plays a ball right across to the other end. Harrison's first touch is superb. And then Harrison looks up and he sees the run of Ben Parkinson heading to the back stick. So he floats one up over the top. Unfortunately, was probably a little bit tight of an angle for Parkinson to get a header on goal. But Parker does the next best thing, and that's put it back into the danger zone. And literally what you get there is like a touch from Turner Cook, who absolutely hammers it then into the roof of the net. Super goal. I mean, people are always going to question the opposition. Of course they are, because they're playing a team that's bottom of the league. But again, I allude to you can only play the 11 that's in front of you. And that's exactly the same as what we've got here. It's going to be 11 players that should, on paper, be a comfortable game. But it's how you mentally present yourself to it. If you walk out on the pitch, as we saw against Fulham, thinking you've won the game before you've kicked a ball, then that could potentially be one that goes astray. So it's going to be
bit on the bum.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. But I'd like, I again, apart from a little bit of a change in certain things, I think that's a strongish side. I have no issues. Anybody else come up with anything else? Does everyone hate Alex Murphy? Poor lad. Well, no. In actual fact, again, it's about shining.
Yeah.
And like I say, I don't know whether he's physically and mentally strong enough for what we expect. And like I say, as much as I thought he was going to go out on loan, the problem with him not going out on loan is because obviously we still look very thin in the middle of the park. Now, when Lewis Miley comes back from injury, which is obviously after the international break he'll be looking at, does he go out on loan then? Because I know he's going to be even further down the pecking order.
Well, I mean, but to be fair, I mean, Murphy's a centre half. He's not, he's not midfield.
He can play in that DM now, can't he? That's why he's been put into the side. He can play in that deep role. And like I say,
Right.
yeah.
Well, I've only ever seen him play centre half. Which,
because we
if
don't
you
play.
remember the American tournament a year past, he had a great game against Chelsea.
Chelsea, yeah, he did.
Or either Chelsea or Brighton, might even have been both.
I was going to say, I'm sure. Well, yeah, again, my brain, it potentially could have been both, but it was definitely one of the. And that's what I said. I mean, this is again, where we look at Eddie, and we know he doesn't play with a natural DM. And when you look at what we've got on the bench, the likes of Kraft, would you put Alex Murphy in front of Kraft to go in as a centre half? Because we saw how difficult it has been for Kraft in the past to adapt to the Premier League pace and everything else. And I think it is probably a step too far for Alex Murphy. And it's not the fact that I don't think the lad's capable. I just don't think he's mentally strong. And like I say, for me, will he still be in the team in the next few weeks? I don't know. I'm not sure. When we've got a couple of the injuries back, I don't think he will. I think he'll be one of these guys that just drops into the background and eventually will go out on loan.
Incidentally, Chris is just saying there, tonight's show is at 10 p.m, by the way, not 9
Oh, it's
p.m.
10 p.m, not 9. Okay,
10
thanks, Chris.
p.m. But of course, if you hit the bell, folks, get the notifications coming in. You'll see when all of our shows are on.
Yeah, exactly. So is there any change, just before I put it down, if anybody thinks of there's a change, I'm going to stop sharing it for now. So I'll remove it off the screen. But if you feel as though there's a change, yes, they do. PDK. Don't our under-21s play against Division 2 teams in a cup? Because obviously we're Premier League 2. We have come up against a couple of the lower league teams in the past, and we have had a bit of a spanking at times, to be fair. But it's usually the bigger teams that will face lesser teams. If I'm honest, I think it's Premier League 1 that play under 21s play lower leagues in like the cups. I think we play in like a national cup. Mama, I'll be on TV. Chris has just put in the comments. On a crazy note, I've been asked to go to an actual Premier League show called Premier League Fan Zone to talk about the match at the weekend with Nika Jones, Premier League presenter. All crazy. There you go. Chris is going to be famous. Hey,
Mama,
well
I'll
done,
be
you.
on TV.
Yeah, that's cool. Well done, you. Alex Murphy played most.
When is it? When's it going to be aired, Chris? Do you know?
Yeah, he did, mate. But like I say, I know he can play in that holding position as well, which I've seen him play in a couple of the reserve games. And to be fair, he played very, very, very well. But again, it is a shame for the lad. Like I say, I just don't think he's up for the fight, and that's what I said. If you look at
the other thing is, surely what we've been hearing all along with Mitchell coming in is that we will pick a style of how we're going to play, and that style is replicated right down the ranks of the club from June. So if we are working on the basis that we don't play with a DM, and which is Eddie's style, he said on numerous times in the past he doesn't believe in a designated DM. that would kind of negate Murphy doing that. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's not giving him a fair chance if they're doing stuff there that isn't being, which isn't club policy, for want of a better expression. So,
No,
like
but
I said, the only time I've seen him play, he's been a centre back, you know.
Yeah. And that's what I said. It's strange because, like I say, if you have a look at a lot of them, they play a lot of. They seem to be moving players around all the time now, you know. And like I say, I don't know whether that's this new guy coming on board is starting to look at it differently. Like I say, Alfie Harrison now going, you know, from centre of the midfield. Now he's got over to the right wing, and you know he seems to be doing all right out there. He's now changed the back four lineup now. Where, like I say, I thought Heffernan was going to be very strong coming forward, and he seems to have slipped by the by. And again, this isn't just the lads trying to, I suppose, step up to the bigger things. But like I was saying in the other program, whenever you when you get to a level of a game, and like I say, we all look at Sanusi, and the reasons why we look at Sanusi is he's a live wire. You know what I mean? He carries the ball, his progressions up the park's really good. He likes to take players on. But then when he gets to a point of the park where, you know, he's then got to think of what to do with
What
the
am I
ball.
going to do with the ball now?
That's when it becomes unstuck. And it's like I say,
ASM.
like, yeah, and it's a very similar thing. And that's why I said, even at your own level, you know, and like I say, you've also got to think some of these kids are only still 17, 18, playing at under 21 level. And again, it's a biggest jump. But if you can't shine at that level on a constant basis, then the chances of you shining at a higher level is going to be virtually impossible. And I
Remote.
think that's where you've got to think of where you are. And like I say, even if they're shining in certain pockets of the game, and that's what I said, we all thought that this Alfie Harrison was going to be the next best thing since sliced bread. And to be fair, he's been pretty lost in previous games. He's had the odd spark of light, but he's not really set the lights, the world alight. And that's where I look at, and I think to myself, you know, where can we change him? And now all of a sudden we see him playing on the right wing because Emerson was playing there for when we played West Ham. Is it Emerson or Emerton? And again looked a little bit lost. And then all of a sudden you've got a lad who's stocky. You know, he gets involved a lot more. And like I say, the build-up play to Taylor Cook's goal, if you haven't seen it, was really good, and I was well impressed with that goal. And I think it's like
Chris
I said,
is saying, Chris is saying he's on 2:30 to 3:30 today on Sky Premier League, presumably. So
I want to ask guy.
He'll be going into the makeup room now.
Yeah, he will. He'll be having that shiny head sorted out. And the other one was Travis Hearns and Anthony Munda. You know, Anthony Munda's playing more as that deep line midfielder, and Travis Hearns to me looks head and shoulders on the right hand side again, strong, plays the game simple. But now all of a sudden you've got Jay Turner Cook who plays on that left side of them, very similar to a Willock type of player. Loves that energy. He's got the energy to get into the box. Like I said, I scored two absolutely crackers. One just inside the box into the roof of the net, and the other one just on the edge of the box, left-footed into the bottom right-hand corner. Two beautiful goals. Like I said, you know, on stages you have to perform, and at this present moment in time, I don't think they've set themselves up a lot. And you've often said about Ben Parkinson, haven't you? You know, how long has he been on the stage now and not really set the world alight?
Foxy's saying generally very few from the youth are able to make the jump to Prem.
That's true. It is true. But you can. But you have to have support and help along the way. And I think that's the other thing. I think
both the Mighties have done it.
Oh, that's what I said. But I don't think in the past we've had the setup. And you know, you can have the best coaches in the world, but if you haven't got the players to coach, and I don't mean that in a nasty way, but there is players at certain levels,
Yeah, yeah.
and there's a limit, you know. Because, like I say, I keep saying it's 85% mentality, and it's only 15% with your feet, because they're just the tools of the trade.
That's an interesting snippet there from Foxy. That Jamal Lewis came off the bench for Sao Paulo yesterday.
Yeah,
Sadly,
he started
it
the
was
first game.
85th minute.
Yeah, he started the first game, sat on the bench the second game, and came off the bench on the third game
For
5
5 minutes.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot
So I
of the
think he
kids
found
that
his level.
are good enough. We just have better senior players than them at the moment. Great
Yeah,
show,
I
lads.
think
Thanks for that, Jake.
Like I say, I think we're getting there, and I think with a better head coach now, I think you'll see a level, a step up. We saw that on Friday. Again, have a look at the highlights if you haven't, because it was a really good showing. If you watch the game against West Ham, or even go back to watch the 2-2 against Blackburn, and see the difference from this game to that game, chalk and cheese.
Good. Augurs well for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it.
We've done all the stars. There's
There's nothing out there now. And I say, apart from Foxes again, nice to see a few new names. So again, thank you very much, and
Indeed.
welcome to the channel. But do us a favour, just hit the likes and or even the dislikes if you're not really happy to listen to Winston Churchill and the man who used to make the Tunes advert. Tunes. But I mean, we are here just to obviously summarise what's happening around Newcastle as a club. And obviously, there's not much news regarding that. And like I say, if anybody's got any information to get about Joe Linton, about his potential suspension, as we
I'll
all
make
thought, that
I'll
he's got
make a
5
point
cards now.
of researching that.
Yeah, we will definitely bring it you tonight on tonight's show. So we'll go and do some research. But I've had a look this morning, and I can't see anything anywhere. And I've had a look again, just and all it's got. The Chronicle has made a statement regarding has to be careful now because suspension looms. So again, it doesn't say that he is suspended. So it's going to be interesting. All right then, team. Again, thank you to my mate Win, for my right-hand man. Thank you to everybody in the chat that's contributed to the show this morning. Like I say, I can't wait to confirm, obviously, whether we've. I'll be on the road tomorrow morning, bright and early, up to the northeast to give my support. I bet you they've run out of scarves now, though, in the sucker, because
An
they'll have,
Aspas. I'll give you an Aspas scarf.
and then we can go from there. But anyway, it's been a lovely to have you with us today. I wish you well. Don't forget to smash the likes before we go, and if you wouldn't mind, if you haven't already, please subscribe and share the channel. It just helps us get out to everybody else. And I'll see you later on, 10 o'clock, as Win said. Sorry, I thought it was 9, but it's a 10 o'clock tonight.
Goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from him. Look at that.
Hey!
We've done it now. We've cracked it. It only took us about 6 months, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. See you later on, team. Thanks.
How are the lads?
Take care, everybody. Lassies and boys.